Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome from wherever you are joining today. My name is Susan, and I am joined by the amazing Dexibit founder, Angie Judge. Welcome, Angie.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me, Susan.
Today we have a really exciting webinar because we've just launched our newest feature, the Data Explorer. We're going to be talking all about how you can explore and manage your raw data, generate extracts, and create extensive queries directly in Dexibit. But to begin with, I'm going to take you through a quick introduction to Dexibit for anyone that may be new here. Then we'll dive in to talk about the Data Explorer. So if you're new to Dexibit, we do data analytics specifically for cultural organizations and commercial attractions. So our mission is to democratize data, and we do that by bringing together all sorts of data from around the visitor's experience in your venue's operations. So things like footfall, ticketing, CRM, point of sale, e-commerce, social web, weather, and so much more. So I believe I'm sharing my screen now to show you what that looks like in the product. Here is Dexibit. It is software as a service, so you can invite as many users as you'd like, and you can build dashboards, reports, insights, and forecasts, which you can then turn into scheduled email reports at a click of a button. In Dexibit, we have a huge library of visualizations. If you want to add one to your dashboard, you can simply search for the topic you are looking for and click Add to add it in. And this is an example dashboard in Dexibit. So you can see lots of different data from different data sources coming together in different ways to get everything from very high level data right down through to the very detailed data. In last month's webinar, we talked about derived metrics. We used examples about per caps and booking lead time. So we can see here derived metrics on booking lead time on a graph to show how far in advance people are booking tickets. And today we're going to show you the Data Explorer to demonstrate not only how you can create your own derived metrics, but also manage your entire data landscape. So I'm really interested in this piece. Angie, could you start us off by telling us more about who the Data Explorer is for?
Mm. Thanks for that intro, Susan. So just for those that are following along in Dexibit, Data Explorer is here on the left-hand side under Data and then Data Explorer. So let's open that up now. And Susan, to answer your question, who is it for? I think Data Explorer is very much designed to target our data controllers, if you like. So people like our system administrators of source systems or of Dexibit itself. So if you're a ticketing system administrator or a footfall ticketing administrator or point of sale for retail or food and beverage, perhaps CRM, this is the kind of part of Dexibit that will be great for you to have complete control of that data. But we've also designed it in a way that even if you're not a data analyst, or even if you have, for example, never touched SQL before, it should hopefully be easy enough to start to navigate and really put the power of the analyst in the hands of everyone. And generally speaking, for all of our users, they've all got access to this. So it provides them with a good level of transparency on that. So I might jump in, Susan, and take us for a tour here.
That's great.
And so yes, so coming back to Data Explorer, here on the left-hand side, click on Data Explorer on the options there. And the first thing that you're going to see is a list of all of your different data tables that you've got. So you can see here, I've got a variety of things like my almanac, my point of sale system, my Google reviews sitting in here, my ticketing, and of course, some of my forecasting as well. And you can see I can open up each of those systems to see all of the attributes within them. And in fact, I can actually open up the system itself to perhaps see some of the information about that system. Like I might want to add a description about how we implemented a new point of sale system in October of 2022, and before that we were using XYZ, etc. So when it comes to all of these attributes, here you can see I've got quite a few. Now this is going to be depending on your vendor and your system, what attributes you're going to see here. These are the fields as we get them from the source system. So you can see, for example, if I look at my reviews, I have some quite different data to if I look at my ticketing, and the same again for my point of sale. And for each of these attributes, I can then click on them. And here I can open up some information on this particular attribute. In particular, I'm really interested in the display name and the description of the attribute. So let's pick something like, what have we got here? Product. I'm seeing my display name of product and my description reading the same, and I might like to change these. So this is affecting what my users will see in the front end of Dexibit when they're interacting with a dashboard. So for example, I might want to change this display name to ticket product rather than just product, just to be a little bit more specific. Or maybe I might want to say something like admissions product if that's something that's specific to my location. And I might like to give it a description. So for example, we like to use the phrase that a ticket product usually relates to what a visitor does, and a ticket type relates to who that visitor is. So the ticket product describes, we can make this even simpler, describes what the visitor did in terms of their activity, such as an event, experience, or exhibition. And I'm going to go ahead and save that. And so if we come back to that front end view that we were looking at in Dexibit, and we'll pull up again that ticketing data that we had just now. So let's scroll down to there. And we can come in and see our ticket products. We're going to look for that under our grouping. And we can see for a start that this no longer just says product, it says ticket product because we changed that. And we can see that nice little description that we added in there. And these are really great, as you can see, to describe to people particular terms that might not be obvious to them. So for example, booking lead time, we can describe what that means. And the same with something like attrition, that this is a no-show rate. So it might be helpful for our data users to be able to quickly see those descriptions to make sure they're using the right attributes for the right things, and that it's clear to them what each attribute means. We hear a lot from our customers about wanting to encourage data literacy and confidence, and those things being really important for data culture. And this is a really, really small but important step that can really help that along with, for example, adjusting the back of card descriptions so that you can describe to users what they're looking at. So all of these sorts of things can be customized with the language that's right for you and your organization. So if you don't call it ticket product and you call it event name or something like that, you can just completely customize this to yourselves. And I think that that's really helpful, especially with things like ticketing vendors, where often the language that the ticketing vendor uses to describe things, they might describe something as a constituent, which might not be obvious to everyone in your organization that that's actually maybe talking about a member or a season pass holder. And it might be easier just to relabel some of that here in the Data Explorer. We can see some vendors as well, like if we have a look in retail, we're seeing a lot of about like sort of line item cost and line item discount and line item product name. These can sort of get a little bit unwieldy when we're trying to work with them, and especially if you're sort of writing them out in queries and you're always having to write out line item product name rather than just product or something like that. So some of that can be just abbreviating things that the vendor has got as their field names into things that are just easier to work with as well. So the other thing that we can do that's super, super cool is when we're writing some of those queries here, we can pull up a little data dictionary. So this is appearing on any of our next generation data visualizations. If you're writing things inside the filter here, and you can use AI to help you do that if you don't want to write in DXQL or Dexibit's own query language, you can just write in plain English here and click this nice magic wand. But we've also got this little data dictionary here, so you can just handily pull up that list that we were looking at in the Data Explorer. And you can also, for example, see those descriptions that we wrote, and you can copy across those field names if you want to just quickly paste those into your filter just to make it a little bit faster. And sometimes if there's some categorical data as well, you might see a little offer here to look at some sample data so you can see, for example, what your ticket products are and grab a couple of those to use in your query. So that just really helps kind of bring that Data Explorer into this view where you're working with data so that you don't have to flip back and forward. And again, just helps with that data literacy angle for everyone who's using data. So we're going to switch gears a little bit, and we talked last time in our last webinar, which is a great webinar to watch if you haven't already, on derived metrics. So I'm going to show you how to make your own derived metric, which is really, really cool. An example very quickly of a derived metric is data that is created in Dexibit dynamically off the data that's coming out of your source system. So you can see, for example, these derived metrics here, they're all marked with a pink dot. And you can see actually when we're working with these in the front end that we can see that they've got a pink tag over them as well to show that they are derived. So these pink dots, an example of these is booking lead time. And this is one of the standard ones you'll find in Dexibit, which is the difference between when the ticket was booked and when it was booked for or scheduled in the number of days. So if I book today, but I'm actually not coming in till next Thursday, and I'm seeing sort of a booking lead time of 7 days there. So this is a great piece of data to work with to understand how far in advance people are booking their tickets. And it's one of the examples of a derived metric. So it's created in Dexibit. It doesn't exist in your vendor to start off with. So to create your own derived metric, you can click ... next to the system name and then add derived metric. We're going to give it a name, like this one that we just talked about, and a display name. The only tip I would add is that these do need to have a snake case, so an underscore between the words. It's okay, this won't show up on the front end for your users. We can leave that nice description here. You'll see it comes up with that tag to say it's derived. That's just that little pink tag that we saw when we were looking things in the drop-down list. There is a physical type and a logical type here, and you'll see this is defaulted to some characters and a category. And there's a little bit more of this if we click on this help documentation in terms of how to create derived metrics. You'll see a little bit more documentation on this on our website, which talks about what those functions are. And now for the actual equation. I'm not much of an analyst, so I'm just going to type here in plain English and use generative AI to help me with this. So I'm going to say the number of days between and we can give it some helping hand here actually, because we can see all of our fields. We can actually name them here. So I'm looking for the difference between my date sold and my date scheduled. And we can say as a booking lead time or something. And let's see what it comes up with. Moment of truth. Clicking the purple wand here, and here it's giving us the function call to use. So date difference between the day on which it's sold and the day on which it's scheduled. And then the last thing that we can do if we want is we can remove some of these aggregating functions, and you'll find again some code here that you can use to copy this if you'd like. And all of this is saying is, all this is doing is saying, oh, well, I don't want a user to be able to say, sum these up. So let's remove that, because it doesn't make sense to add up the booking lead time of my visit versus the booking lead time of Susan's visit and say, well, I had 7 days and Susan had 5 days, and therefore there's 12 days in total of booking lead time. That kind of doesn't make sense to do. So we might like to add that function in there. So that's a very quick way of showing that. And just to have a look at that one that we prepared earlier, you can see that this is sort of the same kind of setup that's got in there. So it's a really quick run on using derived metrics and using the Data Explorer. There's just one last thing that I'd like to show you here today. Oh, I lie. There's one quick other thing I can show you. The last one is on that metric, on any of these metrics, in fact, you can toggle between visible and not visible. So if you want to hide some of them, and you'll see some of these have been hidden from the user, so then they're coming up as not showing in those drop-down lists on the front end. This is a really great way to just condense the data that's available to your users, or maybe to hide some things that they're just never going to use from your source system. We'll already be doing some of that from your vendor. Often we'll get like 1,000 attributes from a vendor, and we're only showing you, say, 20 or 30 here. But if that's still a list that can be whittled down, this is how you can do that there. So that last thing I wanted to show you was how to use this query box to pull up your raw data, or indeed data formatted in any way that you'd like. Now, you've seen some of this DXQL here in a dashboard experience on those next generation visualizations, where we can add in DXQL to create a custom filter into a visualization, and we can write in our plain English here and click our magic wand. If you'd like to, for those that are a little bit more advanced in their use of Dexibit, you can enter in a full query here. And there's, again, a little bit of help documentation, so we can click the link there, and it will take us through to some more information on how to use the Data Explorer and how to create some of those queries. And you'll see even here some nice examples. And I like to cheat and just copy these as a good starting point. So here, for example, let's copy that, paste that in. This is an example of a really straight query, which is just saying, from the table about Antarctica tickets, so this one that I'm working with here, and you could make this any table that you like. So we could go Antarctic reviews, isn't it? Can never spell Antarctica. There we are. And then it's saying, show me everything. It's using this little wildcard or asterisk here, and then limit it to 100 rows. We could even just say, give me 10 rows. And then we can press this play button, and it will play that query out and give me my raw data. And then I can paginate it here, maybe download it out to a CSV here, maybe search it out here. So it just gives me every column that the system has on this data. So you can see if I went for something like Antarctica tickets and played that out, it's going to give me a lot more columns because I have a lot more attributes here available for this. So coming back to our nice reviews here, we can see my first 10 rows that I've asked it to sample out. We can see the rating, the review date, and the source. So everything that's on display here, that these are coming from Google, Facebook, and my website, all on the same day. Mixture of ratings here, and some reviews that have come in here on my attractions in Antarctica, including one that looks like it might be in Hebrew. And so this is a really great place to come I like to come here if I am working with data for the first time or doing something new with a data set, and I just really want to understand what the very raw data looks like so that I can sort of get an idea of how I need to work with it. This is also a great place to come for operational things. So for example, if I wanted to get a list of my member IDs that are coming up for renewal in the next month that haven't visited more than twice in the last year, then I'm a little bit worried that they're going to churn, and maybe I might like to use that list to target those members ahead of their upcoming renewal anniversary with maybe some encouragement to visit and a promotion. Or I can actually just use this to run very specific queries. Now I've used a query here that's just saying, give me everything and give me the raw data. But you can equally ask it to say, order certain things, aggregate certain things. So let's have a look at one of these examples here. And we'll run that as well. So here we've got those booking lead times by channel and averaged out. So you can see, although I can use it to generate the very raw data here, I can also use it to generate specific summaries or aggregations or orders of those data that I'm selecting. So I just wanted to show you that really quickly, just on how to create those queries. Have a play around with copying and pasting and just adjusting a few things if you're new to working with DXQL or something similar like SQL. But this is a really great place to come in and explore and enjoy your raw data, as well as things that we're visualizing and adding into dashboards and reports. And our hope is that by bringing together the ability to sort of point and click and make adjustments to your data, by bringing in that ability to create derived metrics, all those exciting things like, is this visitor from SoCal? Is this visitor hyperlocal, local, domestic, international? You know, anything that you want to create as value on top of your data just helps build that value and build that insight out. And so lastly, you'll see Dexibit has added in a whole pile of attributes that are or derived metrics for your vendors, particularly around things like ticketing and things that are really important for visitor attraction. So you'll see a starting point for these. You do have full control to come in and adjust them if you don't like how we've done it. So for example, booking lead time by day, you can come in and adjust this if you'd like to ignore, say, tickets with a booking lead time of less than 0 and just mark them as 0, that which you might have for like group channel sales and things like that. So come in, have a look at Data Explorer, have a look at the derived metrics that we've already made that are sitting in here, and feel welcome to get in there and start making some changes.
Thank you, Angie. Really exciting to see what's possible in the Data Explorer. Before we close this session, we did have a question come through, and that is, what users in my account have permission to access the Data Explorer?
So down in the admin section here, you'll find our user tab where you've got your list of all of your users and you can invite new users. Those that are titled as like an account administrator, they have full access to come into the Data Explorer and make changes. And don't worry too much about breaking things. There's nothing that you can do here that's sort of irreversible. So do feel free to come in and have a play, make some adjustments, and see how that plays out in your data. And any other user who's just a general user of Dexibit can come in here and look. And I think the big thing that we're aiming for here is transparency for all users and control for some. So if you're a system administrator of Dexibit, a account administrator, or a system owner, if you're ticketing, footfall, point of sale, this is a great control center for you. For all other users, it's a nice place to be able to come if they just want to sort of see where data is coming from and how it's put together. Like if they want to see how booking lead time is calculated, in addition to those descriptions and samples that they can see when they're working with data in a dashboard, this is a nice place for them to be able to come if they'd like to dig a bit deeper there.
That's Great, thank you. And
Wonderful.
thank you for everyone who has joined today. This recording will be up shortly for those of you who couldn't make it.
And we'll look forward to seeing everyone next time. Thanks, Susan.
Bye.